Yaakov Agam. Berishanali Zion, 1928. Yaakov Agam studied at the Bezalel Academy in Jerusalem in 1946, and from 1951, at the Atelier d'Art Abstrait and the Académie de la Grande Chaumière in Paris. He claimed that his one-man exhibition at the Galerie Craven in Paris in 1953 was the first ever exhibition of kinetic art, and that he was the first optical kinetic artist. These claims have been disputed. Agam was, however, among the first artists to encourage spectator participation, allowing people to arrange the various elements of the Transformable Pictures series, 1951-53, and the sonic elements of Sonor, 1961, which he described as a tactile painting with acoustic effects. His later works are as much optical as kinetic in their effect. Salon Agam produced this light installation in the Élysée Palace for President Georges Pompidou. The walls are covered with polymorphic murals of changing images, while the ceiling and carpet are kinetic. The scene changes according to the spectator's position and point of view. 1972, Mixed Media, 470 by 548 by 622 centimeters, Pompidou Center, Paris, France. Julio Le Parc. B. Mendoza, 1928. One of the most active of the South American kinetic artists working in Paris in the 1950s, Le Parc played a major role in launching kinetic art in Europe. In 1960, he joined the French art group, Groupe de Recherche d'Art Visuel, where his theoretical rigor established his reputation. In 1953 he began working on two-dimensional compositions in color or black and white, but later developed a series of works that made use of skimming, light, reflected and broken up by polished metal surfaces. A continual light white light reflects off the polished metal pieces in the center of this piece to produce a sensation of continuous movement. 1963, Mixed Media, 60 by 60 by 1 centimeter, Tate, London, UK. Hélio Oiticica. B. Rio de Janeiro, 1937, D. Rio de Janeiro, 1980. Hélio Oiticica emerged during the 1950s as one of Brazil's most innovative artists, liberating color from two-dimensional painting into three-dimensional artworks. His first paintings were solid-color abstracts, but in the Meta-Schemas series of 1957-58 he sought to dissolve the two-dimensional picture and its grid structure with a dynamic combination of squares and rectangles outlined in various colors. He followed this with a series of white-on-white paintings, Serie Branca, 1958-59, in which he experimented with layering and brush techniques to maximize the effect of light on color. These experiments led him to produce three-dimensional works that hung from the ceiling or stood on the floor, forcing viewers to walk through them. Grande Nucleo, Grand Nucleus, the luminous yellows of the outer panels give way to violet tones at the center of this vast open maze, giving the piece vibrancy and life. 1960-66, Oil and Resin on Wood Fiberboard, Cesar and Claudio Oiticica Collection, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Victor Vasarely. B. Pex, 1908, D. Paris, 1987. Vasarely studied at the Budapest Academy of Painting and the Művészeti Academy, known as the Budapest Bauhaus. There, he became aware of the geometrical language used by the main teachers of the original Bauhaus, such as Vasily Kandinsky and Paul Klee. He moved to France in 1930, and in the 1940s developed a geometric abstraction based on Mondrian and Malevich. Vasarely paid tribute to the latter in his series Homage to Malevich, 1952-58, using his black square on a white background, but turning it on its axis so that it became dynamized. Vasarely used illusory effects like this to transform structures into vibrant forms that could dazzle the spectator's eye. Mindoro II Vasarely's debt to Malevich is evident in the black and white geometric abstraction of this work, in which two overlapping rectangles are pulled apart to create a kinetic impact. See 1956, Oil on Canvas, 130 by 195 centimeters, Pompidou Center, Paris, France. Every form is a base for color. Every color is the attribute of a form. Victor Vasarely. Jesús Rafael Soto. B. Ciudad Bolívar, 1923, D. Paris, 2005. Soto's early style was influenced by Cézanne and Cubism, and he was also aware of the Soviet constructivists through reproductions of their work. In 1950 he moved to Paris, where he began to produce abstract paintings with repeating geometric forms that suggested movement. He produced his first kinetic work, Spiral, in 1955. Soto preferred to work with modern and industrial synthetic materials, such as nylon and steel, but in the early 1960s he investigated the textures of found objects, such as old wood, rusty wire, and rope. His kinetic sculptures create an opposition between dynamic and static elements, in his large installations blurring the distinction between reality and illusion. His work usually exploits the moire patterns created when objects are placed above repeated thin lines. Large writing Soto's use of wire and wood in this kinetic work sets up a dynamic between the various elements that invites the viewer's visual and intellectual involvement in understanding the piece. 1963–66, Wire and Wood, 104 by 170 by 16 centimeters, Phoenix Art Museum, Arizona, U.S. Bridget Riley. B. London, 1931. One of the most celebrated exponents of op art, Bridget Riley became interested in optical effects through her early study of Pointillist technique. Her first op art paintings in the early 1960s were black and white and used simple, repeating shapes, but she distorted them in every way. Riley turned to color in 1966, painting mainly horizontal or vertical stripes that Bridget Riley contrasted one color against a complementary color to heighten or dull it. By now she was attracting considerable interest in her work, winning the International Painting Prize at the Venice Biennale in 1968. Later variations 1979 in her style include the use of diagonal lozenges and flowing curves. Riley's work shows a complete mastery of op art, using subtle variations in shape, size, color, and location of the repeating images across the work to create a dazzling vibration. Lifeline. 1952–55 Studies at the Royal College of Art, London, 1961–65 Paints black and white geometric forms, 1966 Introduces color, paints mainly in stripes, 1979–80 Visits Egypt and later introduces new colors to her palette, 1986 Breaks up her vertical stripes with diagonal lozenges, 1997 Introduces flowing curves. Fall parallel, curved lines, compressed towards the base of the painting, give a billowing effect that suggests the canvas is being blown by a strong wind. 1963, Emulsion on Hardboard, 141 by 140 centimeters, Tate, UK. A Q&A visit to Egypt inspired Riley to develop her Egyptian palette, colors of greater intensity than she had used before. This coincided with her decision to change from acrylic to oil paint, and to return to painting stripes rather than curves. 1981, Oil on Canvas, 239 by 202 centimeters, Tate, UK.